Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled People Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Snoop in my room? I'll leave you a fake pregnancy test to find. After that, $5,000 medical bill? We'll see about that. And after that, I told my dad's wife I own the house that she lives in. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to sneak in anyone else's room.
But I want to see what color socks you have, Reddit boy.
So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Snoop in my room? I'll leave you a fake pregnancy test to find. My mother-in-law moved in with us a month ago. I began to notice my stuff in the bedroom being touched, furniture rearranged, stuff moved, etc. I felt like I was going crazy because my husband is the only one who has access to the bedroom and he usually doesn't touch nor come near my things. I figured it must be his mom walking in and snooping in my personal things. I told my husband and he said his mom would never. I had a huge hunch, but couldn't install a cam in the bedroom to catch her in the act. So I got me one of those fake positive pregnancy tests and I threw it in the bedroom's trash can. Note, the trash can was placed in the corner near the closet. Literally, the next day after I got to work, I got tons of calls and texts from my in-laws congratulating me for my pregnancy. My husband came over to my workplace and was all worked up about it, asking since when was I pregnant and why didn't I tell him? I asked him how he found out and he said his mom found the positive test in the trash can in the bedroom. I asked if his answer just confirmed that she's been snooping in the bedroom all along. He had a realization moment but demanded we stick to the bigger issue. I said there was no bigger issue because the positive test was fake and this whole thing was done to expose my mother-in-law's snooping. He was not convinced. He had me take an actual test right in front of him and he was livid, asking how could I lie about such a thing and break his mom's heart since I know very well that she longs for kids. I got a lot of crap because of this from him. His mom and family are now calling me a liar and a manipulator. Am I the jerk? Important info. Nothing gets taken or goes missing from the bedroom, just to be clear. Not the jerk, but ordering a lock for the door and kicking mother-in-law out seems easier. If you were pregnant, how dare she announce it? So many red flags. One of you needs to go, and it shouldn't have to be you. Not the jerk. You told no lies. Even if you were pregnant, she had no right to announce it to the world. Sounds like one of you girls should move out. I wonder which one your husband would prefer. Not the jerk. But it sounds like you have a husband problem as well, since he was focused more on you breaking his mom's heart instead of 1. Her snooping in your bedroom, and 2. Her blabbing her mouth to everyone instead of immediately going to you and your husband. Of course, snooping is terrible and deeply disrespectful, but it's made even worse by how she went behind your back to spread the news without any confirmation or follow-up. And if she's like this about a pregnancy, I imagine she has just about zero respect for anyone's privacy or boundaries at all. Yikes, I would not want to raise a family around someone like that. $5,000 medical bill? We'll see about that. My boyfriend had to go to the ER after an accident, and he got a truly ridiculous bill back. I offered to fight the bill for him because I've done it before, and he said sure. I went all out because honestly, if we were out $5,000 after insurance, that would really mess up our holiday plans very badly. So what I did was, I had him call the hospital and authorize me to handle his bill and access his medical records. Got an itemized bill and compared the prices for each code to the fair prices. Called billing to dispute the bill, but was told that billing only collects bills. I'd need to contact admin to dispute. Bounced around a call center for hours trying to get someone who was actually qualified for bill disputes and getting nowhere. Google and LinkedIn searched for the hospital board of directors and upper management. Got 30 emails of the most influential people at the hospital, plus the hospital's investors. Every day I would send a few emails, working my way up the chain and writing an increasingly long email describing how they billed my client at 7 times over the fair price for services rendered, and how their billing department, customer service department, and the growing list of management I'd emailed had failed to address the issue. Escalated the emails until I was writing the director-level staff with the entire board of directors and a number of outside investors CC'd, asking for a written statement regarding their justification for billing at a rate 7 times higher than the national average, and sternly laying out the failures to appropriately respond at every level of the company. Well, once I'd done all that, which was honestly only like 15 minutes a day, they reduced the bill from $5,000 to $26. Yep, $26. Well, I told my boyfriend the good news, and he was at first overjoyed and blown away, like literally jumping up and down and hugging me, saying that I was literally a Christmas miracle. But then when he asked how I did it, I said it wasn't too hard. I just had to send a couple emails each day. He was curious what I had said, and I handed him my phone. He started to get stressed and flipped back through other emails, which there were like 60 of. He told me I went way too far. He was expecting me to dispute through their billing department or something normal and reasonable like that. Not internet stalk every single manager and board member and investor and harass them into dropping the bill. I was frustrated because I had just saved us $5,000, actually made it possible for us to afford a nice Christmas and save some money. And he was mad at me for what I had done? I was furious, and he was also mad at me, saying he authorized me to dispute a bill, not basically threaten and harass a whole darn hospital for weeks. Am I the jerk for how I got my boyfriend's medical bills dropped? You are a rock star, and you should be a professional advocate for those who get ripped off in healthcare like this. Your boyfriend is so unappreciative and is clearly clueless on how diligent you need to be to challenge an erroneous bill. When the hospital, doctors, and insurance companies are unwilling to help you resolve their errors, what else are you supposed to do? So many people just quit and either pay the massive bill or go into debt. Tell your boyfriend this is the only Christmas gift that you're giving him. Clearly not the jerk. Yes, OP, have you considered offering this service professionally? OP, my blood pressure would hate me, and without affordable medical care in this country, I don't know. Honestly, dealing with the medical system in this country infuriates me. It was so disingenuous at every step. Every single person told me I needed to speak to billing, despite it being a glorified collections office, and the employees there not even being able to see anything but my balance. Not the jerk. Hospital billing is intentionally messed up and difficult to address issues. When I gave birth to my kids 16 years ago, they double billed everything, and it took almost a year to get it all straightened out. I pretty much had to schedule hours into my weekly schedule to deal with contesting collections, getting it sent back to billing, dealing with some other person in billing, etc. With a newborn, and while I was also working full-time. It was an additional part-time job to fix the darn hospital bill. What you had to do is not abnormal. I told my dad's wife I own the house that she lives in. I'm 29, female. My dad married a woman named Maria a year ago after dating for 4 years. My dad wanted to buy a larger house for them to live in, but couldn't afford it without selling the home he lived in at the time, which is a unique property that he dearly loves. Although I now live abroad, I like the area he lives in, and my husband offered to buy a house there that my dad and Maria could live in. My dad agreed to this on the proviso that we not tell Maria that it wasn't him who paid for the house. This made no difference to me, so I agreed, and the house they live in is in my name, and they live there. I never planned to tell her. Recently, I went back to my home country and decided to stay with my dad for half my time there. The whole time, Maria made it clear I was an inconvenience and that me doing things with my dad was annoying to her. But I'm not a confrontational person and I don't react to much, so I let it go. However, 2 days before I was due to leave, she came into my room and saw that I had my dad's dog on the bed. Now, this is a dog that my dad has had since before he met Maria and that I raised. Maria doesn't allow him on her bed, which is fine, but I've always had him sleep on mine. She flipped out, saying this was the final straw, that she had had enough of me disrespecting her in her own home, and I had to leave. I tried to de-escalate the situation, saying we should just wait for my dad and sit down and talk this out, but she was adamant that I had to leave and that she had the authority to make me. After several minutes of me trying to explain to her that it was absurd of her to try and kick me out of my dad's house without talking to him, she said that what she said went, and since she married my dad, this is technically her house. I just chuckled and said since my name is on the deed, it's technically my house, but there's no need to get technical, we should just wait for my dad. She was shocked and left the room. When my dad came back, I told him what had happened, and he went to go speak to her. There was a shouting match, and she didn't speak to either of us until I left 2 days later. My dad is mad I told her, which I get, But since then, I've also got texts from her kids saying I was the jerk for telling her and making her feel like a guest in the house. This isn't the case. She isn't a guest, she's a tenant. But so is my dad, and the only point I was trying to make was that she didn't have any business trying to kick me out of my father's house, let alone my own property. I didn't take it there until she did. That said, maybe I should have just left the ownership out and let my dad handle it. Edit. For everyone talking about Maria being a tenant and tenants' rights, she doesn't pay rent, so I don't know if that makes her a tenant, technically. If it does, then as a landlord, I'm pretty sure I have legal recourse over the remodeling she did without notifying me or for my approval. And anyway, I wasn't there as a landlord. I was there as a guest of another tenant, and actually, she did have several weeks' notice I was coming in any case. I'm sure it's a legal rabbit hole, but the only reason I use the word tenant is to say that since she lives there, she isn't a guest in the home. Not the jerk. She internally struggled with wanting you to do what she wanted. It escalated due to her need to be the boss in her house.
You disrespected me in my house.
You were gracious to allow her to save face several times. You offered options. Call my dad. This type of personality will lose it once they know they don't have control. You did not make her feel anything. She created this situation. You again are gracious to allow them to enjoy a beautiful home. Maybe she feels deceived by your father. The kids need to pipe down. It was your first visit and she was not cordial to you. Not the jerk. In the comment, OP points out, 1. It's furniture owned by OP, and 2. They do not pay to live there. If I'm doing someone a solid only to be disrespected like that, I'm done doing the solid. The stepmom is obviously a gold digger on a power trip. Yes, OP agreed not to say anything, but she didn't agree to being disrespected in the home she lets these people live in for free. Daughter's friend mocks me at dinner, gets banned from our house. I, 37 female, have 2 kids with my husband, who's 41, a 14-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old son. Our daughter has always been a little socially awkward to the point that we've had her tested since we suspected her of being on the spectrum. Turns out she isn't on the spectrum, she's just a natural introvert. However, this year in school, we were thrilled when our daughter made a new friend her age, since that is an area in which she struggles. Long story short, she recently invited her new friend over, with our approval, to have dinner at our house and then spend the night. So my daughter's friend came over. My husband is usually the cook in the family, and this night was no exception. He made us all a really nice meal. During the course of said meal, I asked my daughter's friend, "Are you enjoying the food?" She responded, "Yes, your husband is a great cook. No wonder you've ended up so big." The room got quiet for several moments. My husband tried to laugh it off and change the subject, but I wasn't having it. The girl had just leveled a completely uncalled for insult at me. My daughter's friend seemed to realize that she had messed up, but she didn't say anything else. We finished an awkward dinner in mostly silence, and my daughter's friend did stay the night. This was a couple of months ago. Recently, my daughter asked if she could have her friend back over, and I told her, sure, if she's going to apologize to me. When our daughter asked what I meant, I reminded her of what she had said. My daughter responded that it was over, and she didn't want to bring it up again. She then went to her father and asked. He said, sure, but she then told him what I'd said. He came to me and said, daughter's friend is just awkward and tried to make a joke. It didn't land. For the sake of our daughter, can't you just let it go? Yes, I could. But the thing is that I just want an apology from the girl. I need to see that she understands how rude she was before I can get on board with her and my daughter hanging out. My husband says that I'm being weird for insisting on an apology from a 14-year-old, especially since she is such a good friend of our daughter. I think it's weird that I'm still waiting for an apology from that same girl. Seriously, that's all I need. I just need to know that any friend of my daughter is willing to own up to her mistakes. You're the jerk. Did it ever occur to you that the reason this girl and your daughter clicked as friends is because they're both socially awkward? She's a 14-year-old kid. Even with the best social skills, they often put their foot in their mouths. Let it go. Don't ruin your daughter's friendship because your ego was hurt by one offhand comment. You're the jerk if you don't show this other awkward kid the same parental grace and gentle guidance that you probably hope others show towards your kid. Agreed wholeheartedly. You should have acted like an adult and gently redirected. Have the kid back. If something happens again and it has a malicious tone, then yeah, go all Gandalf on her. You're just hurting your daughter by continuing to hold a grudge from a teenager. You're the jerk. You're the jerk. Stop it. You're the adult here. Don't pick a fight with a 14-year-old. It's clear that this kid didn't mean to upset you. You really want to sabotage your own kids' friendships because of your ego? You don't need an apology. You need to act like an adult and shake it off. Edit to add. I also think it's pretty disgusting that you're putting your daughter in the middle of this. Because you didn't properly address the perceived slight at the time, you now expect your daughter to tell her friend that she has to apologize to you, while you sit on your throne and wait. You're the jerk. If 14 is old enough to apologize, 37 is old enough to communicate that at the time. You've taken an awkward moment that this girl probably wishes she could forget and made it into some huge issue. Have some grace, let it go, let her think it's forgotten, and let your daughter have a friend. Well, what do you think? Is OP the jerk for wanting an apology or not? Please let us know. Would I be the jerk for taking my daughter to visit my family? My wife, Jenna, who's 28, and I, 32, male, had our daughter, Averly, 6 months ago. We've been together for 10 years and married for 3. We both live out of state from our families, and neither of us have the best relationship with them, though Jenna's family have made a lot of effort to come and visit, mend bridges, and interact with Averly since she was born. My family, mom who's 52, stepdad who's 55, 3 younger brothers, who are 17 through 21, live an extra few hours away and are yet to meet her. It's important to note that my mom and Jenna do not get along. Mom has always had something to say about Jenna, and the older Jenna's gotten and the longer it's gone on, the less Jenna has been willing to let it go over her head. This has resulted in us spending the last 10 years doing separate holiday visits. My plan this year was to drop Jenna at her parents' place safely after the flight and then carry on the extra 3-hour drive with Averly to mine, and then pick her up on December 23rd so we could spend Christmas Day as a family. Jenna's response was simply no. In our house, no is usually a complete sentence, but I asked her why, and her response was, "We talked about this when I was pregnant. You never had my back with your mom, so I don't trust you to advocate for Averly. And since she's made no effort to be around her, I'm not comfortable with letting you take our baby into that environment without me, and I'm not going to go somewhere it's evident I'm not wanted." I brought up the fact that I want my daughter to know my parents and her side of the family, and that Jenna was stopping that from happening, and how unfair it was to my mom given that her parents have been here at least twice a month since she's been born and have been able to have that bonding time. I told her I would drop her off and take Averly anyway, or me and Averly would fly into my parents' home airport, but one way or another, she would be meeting them this Christmas. That's when Jenna just cracked and broke. She started bawling and repeating how she couldn't believe I'd put her in that position. And when I told this story to my best friend at the pub, even he raised his eyebrow and said that it wasn't a good move. Jenna has been sleeping on the couch, and I'm beginning to feel awful and second-guessing everything. Would I be the jerk, or am I right in standing my ground here? You're the jerk. If your wife said that you never had her back, she's got all the reasons to trust that the baby might be treated or cared for in a way that she wouldn't approve of. This doesn't mean badly cared for, just not cared as if she would. I kind of understand her. Plus, if you had an agreement during pregnancy, why are you breaking it? As you say, her family did a lot to mend. Can you say the same for your family? You're the jerk. Your wife is absolutely correct. She had to put up with your mom's crap for 10 years. 10 years where you obviously didn't have her back, or your mother would have shut up and figured out a way to coexist by now. Your wife is definitely correct. You need to figure out a way to talk to your mom and say, "Now that my daughter is here, the rude comments and jerk behavior stops, period." Also, a 6-month-old is still pretty reliant on her mother. Also, I can't believe your wife has been sleeping on the couch. You're lucky it hasn't been a hotel. If I was her, it wouldn't be the couch and it wouldn't be me. I'm honestly just shocked at the ignorance here. I can't believe OP doesn't realize his behavior and how completely messed up this situation is for his wife. My stepmother expects to be the most important woman in my life. My dad is married to Janie. They've been together for a little over 6 years and married for about 4 now. Dad was a widower when they met. I'm 16, female, and my siblings are 14 and 12. Our mom passed 8 years ago. Janie has not adjusted well to being a step-parent. I think she thought she would be just a parent to us because our mom had passed and didn't consider that we'd still talk about and have photos of our mom. Over the years, she's been to therapy and her and my dad have gone to couple sessions. In the last year, the 5 of us had gone to family therapy, and she has admitted it's hard for her because she feels like she's second best or a consolation to us and that we don't really love her and want her. Dad assured her that we all love her just as much as mom, that she's his number one and is vital to our family. For a while, then, in sessions, she and the therapist would talk about how she feels like she's not a true member of the family, like she's a second-class member, not someone we see as important in the structure of the family. She said she never felt love from any of us, and she feels like even extended family, which she explicitly said was grandparents and any aunts and uncles, come before her when it comes to us kids. She said she sees it in so many things, including the way we don't regard her parents as our grandparents or her 2 sisters as our aunts. And now when I turned 16 and we did a nice dinner party, my guest list included both my mom and dad's side of the family, but not her side. My sister was the first to speak during all this, and she said nothing was ever done to make her feel bad, that she just doesn't think of her as her mom or as being her parent. Once that was said, she was talking about how much that makes her feel bad and like she's not truly accepted. The therapist asked us to consider whether we'd be willing to deepen the relationship so she felt equally as loved and as important as our dad, and Dad wanted us to consider ditching our typical Christmas dynamic and spend the time with her parents exclusively this year. Then 3 weeks ago, she brought up that I had made something for class that went into details on my family, and she pointed out that she and her family were not mentioned. Then she asked me why my grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins were mentioned on both sides, all with their own pages, but I couldn't make room for the most important woman in my life, her. I told her because she is not the most important woman in my life. I told her that will always be my mom, followed by both my grandmas. She asked if she was just second best then, if she was unimportant, and I refused to answer. Afterward, my dad and Janie both told me that I was cruel to say she wasn't the most important woman in my life when she is there every day and has done her best. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk, and I think stepmom needs a different therapist because it doesn't seem like she's getting a lot out of this one. Your feelings about this are valid, and Dad is wrong for trying to force you to deepen the relationship when it sounds like stepmom is burning bridges and looking for a ready-made family of her own. Not the jerk. I think it's time to get blunt and tell the group that you think perhaps individual therapy for Janie so she can work on exactly why she needs you all to pledge your undying love and devotion so badly would be a better idea than this. Because if the goal of these sessions is to get you to pretend you don't miss your mom, let alone would ever choose Janie over having her back, that's not realistic, and you don't think it's healthy. Not the jerk. The reason why blended families have a higher failure rate is because the step-parent has a habit of coming in with this expectation they're going to be on the same playing field as the kid's biological parents. It doesn't work that way. Am I the jerk for telling my boss no to working weekends? I got hired for this salaried job where they really hyped up the work-life balance and reasonable hours in the job interview. Like the way they never expect people to stay late or work on weekends or holidays. That turned out to be BS. My boss got my personal phone number off my resume from when I applied, and after not long, he was blowing up my phone on nights and weekends asking me to come to work. I'd always not answer. Then when he'd ask on Monday why I wasn't answering my phone, I'd pull out my work phone like, "Sorry, are you sure you had the right number? I'm not seeing any missed calls." And he'd often say he called my own cell, so I'd say that I don't really use it much. I leave it home a lot, and when I do check it, I've usually got like 40 missed calls, and my voicemail is always full, so I probably miss stuff unless I'm expecting a call at a certain time. And that if he needs to reach me, he should try my work phone, because I'm very careful to follow up on any call to that within 1 business day. He asked me how he could reach me outside of 9 to 5 because he sees I leave my work phone on my desk at night and over the weekend. I said that honestly, I'm not glued to any phone on the weekend, so if he needs me to take a call on the weekend, could he make it a meeting request and put it on my calendar so I know to be available? Or if I know I won't be available to take a call, I can suggest an alternate time to call. He said that wasn't really gonna work for him. More often, things come up last minute, and when he calls people on the weekend, it wasn't planned. and that he's not calling for a teleconference meeting, he's calling asking people to come in. I said that on the weekends, I usually have commitments that were made 1 to 3 weeks out, and I'm not often able to cancel a previous commitment with under a day notice. So if he needs me in on a weekend, it would be best if he could schedule that 3 weeks out so that I know not to make conflicting plans. He said that wasn't possible, and I said okay. He could try and reach out and I'd answer the phone if I heard it ringing. But I wasn't always on the phone, so I might not catch it always. Anyways, I've gone back to ignoring his calls, and my coworkers have gotten kind of frustrated with me, saying that coming in on weekends is part of the job and that I wasn't pulling my weight. I said that I don't know what job they signed up on, but in my job interview, I was promised regular hours and took my pay based on regular hours, so I'm working regular hours. My coworkers got frustrated and said that if everyone did what I was doing, nothing would get done. I said maybe nothing should get done then, if it's coming at the cost of y'all not being home for dinner with the family. I don't really think my coworkers see it as an option to say no, so they're angry at me because I'm doing it and they're not comfortable doing it. Am I the jerk for not working evenings or weekends? Not the jerk, but be prepared to be fired soon. Your coworkers and boss are going to be looking for any reason to get you in trouble, and if you are on probation, expect to be let go. I know it sucks, but that's the way these companies' bootlickers work. Good on you for standing your ground, and shame on your company for lying to you about the job. Not the jerk. Wasn't a stated requirement, and your boss hasn't even formalized a schedule to adhere to. You don't have to be on call all weekend because something might come up unless it's specifically enumerated part of your job and comes with some form of compensation. Your coworkers are just upset you had the guts to say no to a bad organization. Weekends and overtime should be utilized as catch-up time if needed. If an organization cannot survive without this time, then something needs to change in the organization. You're the jerk. My business employs about 150 people. We treat them very well, and in return expect them to do the same. The moment someone complains about working weekends, we get rid of them. This isn't the local burger joint, we're a financial group. If I can't count on you to be a team player, maybe you should be buffing my Lexus. Sorry kids, your mommy is a liar. On the maternal side of my family, I have a cousin who is an entitled parent. Admittedly, I don't see her very often because her parents got divorced when she was a kid and her mom always got her for the holidays, so she didn't really feel connected to our family, which is fine and valid, but she lied to us a lot when she was an adult that she would come and never did, and it kinda hurt everyone inside a bit, especially my grandmother. But every time I do see her now, it's a bit of a nightmare. The last time I saw her was in 2019 at our grandfather's memorial, where she showed up 3 hours late in casual clothes. It was a semi-formal event that were covered in stains and dog fur. And the first thing she did was approach our newly widowed grandmother and ask her for money. So yeah, she's not a great person, but since her mom is raising her kids, they're super sweet. Anyway, during 2021, my paternal grandfather passed, and when he first got sick, he and my grandmother decided to give myself, siblings, and cousins our inheritance because they didn't want it to get lost between fighting if it were to be sorted out after they passed. My aunt, Dad's sis, is also an entitled parent, but this ain't about her for once. We were each given 50,000 Canadian dollars. My brothers and I immediately put the money into tax-free savings account and savings accounts because there's only so much money that you're legally allowed to put in TFSAs. One thing about the money, we told no one. Only our immediate paternal family knew, and we weren't going to tell anyone else because people get weird about money. My maternal side of the family has been fixing up our old family cottage, and one of my brothers is in the trades and doing well for himself, so he decided to buy a used boat off Kijiji with the inheritance money from his savings and then quickly replaced it. Our maternal side was told about and shown the boat, and we just told them he got the money from the trades. Well, my paternal grandmother let it slip about the inheritance to my maternal grandmother, who accidentally mentioned it to one of my poorer uncles. He makes poor financial decisions, and he told the rest of the family. He pouted a bit, but overall, no one asked us for money and understood why we didn't tell them. Since we're not getting together for Christmas this year, we were having a video call to chat and wish happy holidays before we all got busy, and my maternal cousin was there, much to everyone's surprise. Not even 5 minutes into the video call, this conversation happens. Cousin:
All right, boys, what do you want to say to your auntie?
Kids: Thank you for taking us to Disney. Me, who isn't even planning on going anywhere near the US with a 10-foot pole. What are you talking about? Cousin, you're paying for us to go to Disney. Me, no I'm not. Where did you hear that? Kid 1, Mommy said that you'd send us to Disney because Grandma gave you lots of money. My cousin, who had a very smug look on her face and clearly knew what she was doing, and that no one, least of all I, had said anything of the sort. Yup, and we're so grateful because Grandma didn't give us any money, so thank you. Me, who's 100% done with this and all the pain she's caused my family. Sorry kids, your mommy is a liar. I'm not sending anyone to Disney. She lied to you. And the money I got was from my other grandma because my grandpa got sick and passed. It's not from this side of the family. I'm sorry that your mommy lied to you. She shouldn't have done that. It was wrong. She owes you an apology. Everyone on the call was just frozen. And then it erupted. Her kids started yelling at her. Why would you lie? And that was so mean. And my personal favorite, are you lying about other stuff? Probably, kiddos, probably. She looked so angry and betrayed on camera, and my relatives started chiming in, but there were too many voices, so I said bye and left the call. My mom called me. I live in a different province for uni, and said what I did was uncalled for, but I pointed out that because of her, there was no way for me to leave that conversation without looking like the bad guy, because I was absolutely not using my money to give her a free vacation, and that she had lied too much to our family and directly caused us a lot of pain, and it was probably for the best that her kids caught on quick. She just said that what I did was uncalled for and hung up. But then I started getting texts from other relatives in the call, and everyone except for the broke uncle who's always complaining about his poor financial decisions was on my side, because she had hurt them too. My grandma called to thank me because the only reason my cousin comes around anymore is for money, and it's very hurtful. My cousin was texting mean things at me until I blocked her. Then I started getting messages from her mother because her kids were getting so unruly from this betrayal that she just ditched the kids with her mom until her mom could get them calmed down. Like, how entitled do you have to be? She demands a free trip and then ditches her kids the moment she has to parent.
Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video.
Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.